Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to part 2 of our look at Mobile 5.0 and SAP BI 4.2. 4.1? 4.1. My apologies. I'm already anticipating the next release. SAP BI 4.1. It's great to have you with us. I'm Lori Blanford. I'm the Marketing Manager here at Done Solutions Group, and we have two presenters this afternoon. And I'm sure that you're familiar with them at this point if you have participated in previous webinars. We have Jose Hernandez, Director of Business Intelligence, and Natasha Kishinevsky, Business Intelligence Manager. And throughout today's presentation, you'll have the ability to submit questions using the Q&A box at the bottom of your GoToWebinar tool panel. And we'll do our best to answer any submitted questions at the end of the presentation. Should we run out of time, we'll follow up by email with all the answers. Okay, and this is a look at what Jose and Natasha will be presenting today. I will start things off with a quick introduction to Done Solutions Group. After that, I'll turn it over to Jose, and he's going to give you a review of part 1 of our BI Mobile webinar. He is going to, he and Natasha are then going to run through a new features demonstration, a document links demonstration, and then discuss design and recommendations for the tool. Great, I'll get started with the introduction. Founded over 25 years ago, Done Solutions Group is a full-service IT consulting firm, and we design, develop, and deliver a wide range of solutions using a variety of advanced tools. We deliver solutions worldwide through offices in Chicago, Minneapolis, Raleigh, and Bangalore, India. Our offerings fall into 3 practice areas: application development solutions. These include custom app development, mobile app development, e-commerce portals, and web design. BI solutions, which includes end-to-end BI solutions, dashboards, reporting and analytics, mobile and other advanced BI capabilities, and package solutions. And these meet the needs of specific vertical markets or unique needs. In addition, I want to mention that we do offer training solutions, and we have classrooms in Minneapolis, St. Louis, and Raleigh. We also do on-site, virtual, and custom training, so we're really able to meet any SAP BusinessObjects or Crystal training, including HANA, that you may have. Our clients include some of the biggest names in American business, many mid-market companies, as well as a large number of government agencies, many of which are listed here. And to offer our clients the most advanced solutions possible, we maintain close partnerships with industry-leading technology companies, including Microsoft, IBM, and SAP. Our partnership with SAP is one of our strongest and most important. We are an SAP Gold partner and have been a top-level partner for over 17 years. We utilize the full SAP BusinessObjects suite in our solutions, and as I mentioned earlier, we are an authorized training partner as well. Okay, again, good to have you with us. We are excited to present part 2. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jose.
Thanks, Lori. All righty. So this is something that I've started doing recently so that people know who the heck I am. So if you run into me at one of these shows, this is who I am. This is what I look like I am for real. And Natasha is joining me today. She's going to be doing most of the driving in terms of the demonstrations that we're doing. So I'll do a lot of yapping, and she will do more of the exciting things. She likes it better that way, and sometimes I do too. All right, so the first thing we thought we would do, we weren't sure how many repeat audience members we would have in this particular presentation. And since it builds upon things that we talked about with our BI Mobile Part 1 presentation, we thought we'd do a quick review of the mobile technology that comes with SAP BI. After that quick review, we'll go ahead and show you some of the other neat features that we prepared for this particular presentation. So it's no mystery that mobile is here to stay. It's not a fad. In fact, many organizations, if they're not implementing some kind of mobile solution within their walls, they are going to. And you know that mobile devices are prevalent throughout society today. Just look around. Everyone's looking down at some mobile device, either communicating or entertaining themselves. or doing some research, finding out where the best restaurants are to go to. So definitely mobile's here to stay, and it's a good thing that SAP provides with its BI 4.1 platform and 4.0, and it also existed in 3.1, this mobile application which is available on a variety of devices. So wanted to talk a little bit about the roadmap and the evolution of this application. Initially, there were a variety of apps. If you look at the iOS platform, there were several applications that existed that provided various functionalities on a mobile device. Today, both in iOS and in Android, one application provides all these capabilities. So it's not a matter of having to download a series of applications. One gives you access to all your BI content. And you can see the logo, the BI Mobile 5X logo is the thing that you're looking for. Variety of platforms are supported. This particular presentation, we're going to focus on the iOS platform. And the reason we're going to do that, and it may not be a mystery, and if it was a mystery to you, it won't be anymore. SAP does focus on the iOS platform first, so most of the innovation and rollout of initial capability shows up there. Soon after, the feature set ends up showing up in the Android platform. So we're going to be focusing on iOS as it does have the richer feature set. By the way, just to make mention, BlackBerry is also supported, and there's a discrepancy between the functionality in all three of these platforms, and eventually things catch up. It's really up to SAP what that schedule is and the feature sets that they provide. But focusing on iOS today. I want to do a quick review of some of the capabilities, and we're comparing here in this particular slide iOS versus Android. And just as I mentioned, the thing that you'll notice is that the iPad and the iPhone does have a richer feature set in terms of what they support. You can see by the number of X's that show up in the iPad column. And there is variation between the tablet platform and the phone platform. Obviously, some of that has to do with just the physical size, but those also may catch up as well as different versions come out. So today, the demonstrations that we're working on are going to be performed on an iPad. A couple of other things here. We wanted to talk about some of the web intelligence capabilities specifically. So anyone that's used the BI platform knows that one of the root applications that's been around for quite some time is web intelligence. And web intelligence capabilities are supported on the mobile device. And depending on which device you're talking about, will also dictate what capabilities are available. You can see that the iPad and the iPhone support many of the web intelligence features, various charts and tables and linking and so on, and Android's catching up just nicely. So before we go further, I think what I'd like to do is let Natasha take you on a spin, at least an overall view of the mobile 5X platform before we start diving into some of the new features that we're going to talk about as a refresher for some of the things that we've done. So let me quickly switch here so that we can get a view. And I'm going to go ahead and maximize this so that we are completely focused. There we are.
Perfect. Thank you, Jose. So what we thought we'd do today is give you a brief overview of the platform. So for those of you who have attended the webinar before, it'll be familiar to you, but for those of you who are seeing it for the first time, it'll give you an idea of how to get started with the SAP BI mobile application. So what you see on the screen right now is the login to the application. The application has its own security model implemented, which prevents anybody who's not the owner of this device from accessing the platform. All right, so before we get into looking at the different content types that exist on our platform here, I wanted to walk you through the application settings because those are really important in setting it up and starting the mobile BI application. So let's take a look at the configuration for our connection. All right. So there are a few things that you have to specify when you're creating a connection to the BI platform. It used to be a lot more cumbersome than it is right now. All you have to supply right now is basically your server URL, and you can create an external URL for your external users. You should also supply the name of your central management server and provide the authentication mode. And in some cases, the organizations like to rely on AD authentication, which is also supported by the BI mobile platform. You can also make sure that one of your connections is set up to be the default connection, so that means that every time you start your mobile app, that connection will be active. All right, I'm going to go back. So we are connected to the platform right now, and what you see on your screen right now as I'm kind of navigating through it is the different types of content that's available for you to use with a mobile device. You can change the layout of this screen. You can look at your items by the list mode or back to the thumbnails. You can also change the sort order. And the sort order right now is by type. We can change it by date, by author, by title, and so on. I'm going to switch back to the type here. You can change the ascending and descending order. And from this screen also, you can always navigate back to your application settings very easily. You can also navigate to your BI inbox, your favorites, your personal views, which we'll discuss a little bit later in the demonstration. And so let me show you a few of the different content types that exist that are supported by the iOS. First, we'll look at a dashboard. Now, this particular dashboard, let me switch the perspective here. So this particular dashboard was actually created with a tool called Dashboard Design, which is formerly known as Excelsius. And it provides some interactivity and some very nice-looking graphics for the consumer. All right, now let's take a look at some of the exploration views that we have here. So exploration views are also supported by the iOS, and they're also part of the same application right now. So are the information spaces. I'm actually going to open up one of the exploration spaces here, information spaces. And you can do the same types of operations here as you used to be able to do with the Explorer app. So now everything is rolled into one application. The features are still it's still pretty feature rich, if not more. So let's navigate to some of our web intelligence documents. And some of the features of the web intelligence documents, you can expand your charts and graphs to focus your attention on a specific area of interest. All the charts actually come equipped with the sliders, so you can actually focus your attention on a certain subset of information.
Hey, Natasha, I see that T-shirts are still doing well in e-fashion.
Oh, yeah. So are the accessories. All right. If your web intelligence document has more than one report tab, you can also navigate between those two. And let's go ahead and do that. And I'll go back. Let's take a look at another one of the Webby reports here. The other very important feature that they've added recently to the BI mobile app is the ability for you to annotate and share collaborate on these reports with other users. So what I can do with this particular report right now is I can create my own little annotation here and maybe focus somebody's attention on this. And once I'm done, I can email this to somebody else. So let me go ahead and email it to myself, or I'll email it to Jose. There we go.
I see that I have to invent that time machine to go back and take care of those 2003 numbers.
That's right.
All right. Some e-fashion humor, folks. Oh, sorry.
All right. The other thing that, and this is kind of the last thing that I wanted to talk about at this point, is you can also search for content on the platform here. So if I wanted to search for sales analysis or anything that's related to sales, I can do that, and I can even continue my search on the server. And what it's going to pull up is the number of the different types of reports and dashboards that contain the word sales. So you can see that there's a number of those reports and the dashboards that came up here. All right, so this just kind of gives you a brief intro into what we showed last time. So we'll switch back to the presentation mode.
All right, very good. So the one thing I noticed is that practically all the content that I can create on the platform is potentially available for me to consume on the mobile device.
Correct. And the setup for that is not as cumbersome as it used to be. You're basically tagging all of your potential candidates for mobile devices with mobile category on the platform.
Okay, very good. All right, so let's dive into looking at some of these new things that we're going to look at today. So there's a what I'll call a bucket load of new features, and one of the ones that we're going to focus on, which is identified here, is document linking within the mobile application itself. All right, so let's take a look at some of these features. And those who attended the previous presentation, we gave some sneak peeks at some of the things that we were going to talk about. And then there are some things here that we did not intend to talk about because they actually didn't exist at the time that we were promoting this upcoming presentation. So the things that we're going to focus on today, or at least bring to light, are document linking, personal views, dual access support, hierarchical inputs. Say that 10 times really fast. That's fun. And GEO mapping. So one of the things that we said that we were going to talk about were embedded actions, and as you can see by the notation there, that those things didn't quite make it to our demonstration. In fact, it's on the cutting room floor. The reason for this, as we were researching this capability, it turns out that it appears to only be available on BlackBerry devices, and obviously, if we're featuring an iOS device or even an Android device, that wasn't going to work out too well. So we have here some hyperlinks to documentation which give you information on that. And basically by looking at the design documentation for the BlackBerry and the admin documentation for iOS, that's where you will determine that, hey, embedded actions appears to only be working on BlackBerries. So unfortunately, that's not part of our demonstration, so we'll get to spend time on some of the other new features. I guess one could argue that we replaced that with an even cooler feature, I think, which we'll get to at the end, that GEO mapping, right? So hopefully we'll make up for it by having that. All right, so Natasha, do you want to start explaining the demos?
Sure.
That we're, all right.
Sure.
Good.
And actually, before we even look at what document linking looks like on the iOS, we should take a look at Web Intelligence setup for it.
Okay, so you want to switch over to Web Intelligence?
Switch over to Web Intelligence.
All right, very good. And I will hand over the controls to Natasha.
All right.
Oh, my password. People can see it.
Oh.
Star, 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 star.
There we go. All right, so to set up the document linking, first what you have to do is actually set up 2 reports, or more than 2, that you can link together. So I'll pull up an example of a report that we created. So we have a report that has some sales information, and we also have a detailed report that has sales information for a particular product line. Now this report, the detailed report we'll be linking to, has a prompt which...
That's weird. Why don't you go ahead and view it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
You have to right-click. By default. Oh, there it is. Good.
So this particular report has a prompt for product lines. Okay, and the report that we have a link in, let's go ahead and view that one, has links from the product lines to that report. So anybody clicking on this product line will have a link to the product line detail report. Here we go.
Is that basically just the typical hyperlink that we
correct.
Are using
So
creating?
the only way that you can set this up is actually using Web Intelligence in the HTML mode. And when you do that, you actually have the ability to create links from that document. Actually, there we go. Here's my document. So if I go to the design mode here, you will see that the linking actually creates the URL, the open doc URL. Let me open it up so that you can see it better. Here's my document link. I simply point it to the product detail report, and I tell it to refresh and open to actually make sure that the prompts are in action. So let's go ahead and cancel out of this, and then we'll switch over to the iOS. And the report that we created is this link to products report.
So we're accessing the platform in that very same report that we were looking at in Web Intelligence we're now going to consume in the mobile application.
Correct. So both reports are actually mobile reports. Both reports have to be tagged with the mobile category to be available on the mobile device. And it seems to be taking a little longer than usual. Let me actually try this again.
You want to check your wireless connection?
Yeah, could be. It's good now.
Oh,
there we go. I was ready to give up on it. All right, so this report actually is the main report where we have the links. So if I click on one of the product lines here, let's click on accessories, that will bring up our detailed report. So remember, at this point, this report is actually also being refreshed. And right now, we're only looking at accessories, the information for accessories. And we can easily toggle back to the original report. There we go. And if we wanted to look at something else, one of the other product lines, we'll take a look at jackets right now. And here's our report that has the information for jackets. All right, so that's all about the product document linking, so I'll pass it back to Jose.
All right, let's see if I can navigate my way back to the PowerPoint. Cool. All right, very good. So just to recap, basically, if anyone's worked with the concept of hyperlinking from one Web Intelligence document to another, that very same concept is now supported by the mobile device. But basically, what you have to be concerned with is make sure that both of the documents are available for the mobile device by associating them with the mobile category. Then you're good to go.
Correct.
All right, very good. And, personal views. So this is a new feature set. And so what are personal views all about before we go showing it?
Yeah, so it gives the ability to the users to actually filter out some information that they like to focus on and save the view of that report in their mobile device, and it'll create a local copy for them in their directly on the mobile device. Now, before you actually get that to get that started, to set that up, you actually have to change some of the security properties on the platform for the mobile application, and you have to enable the offline storage of the reports. So what that means is you have to be able to store the content offline.
So creating a personal view, in essence, creates a copy of the report, and hence the place to store that copy is on the mobile device, and that's why you have to make sure these settings are. All right, very good. Why don't we go ahead and take a peek and see what those personal views are all about. Hopefully I can successfully switch over, and let me maximize the screen again. All right, here we go.
All right, so I have a report here that I can filter some of the values in. Let's actually filter out some product lines, and I'll also take a look at Illinois and maybe 2007. So this is the information that I'm looking for. This is what I want to focus my attention on. So what I can do here is, again, like I showed before, we can create some annotations here and email this. We could also save this view on our mobile device, and it creates a name for it. We can actually create a description that we like. Thank God for autocorrect. There we go. And now if I navigate out of my platform and look at my personal views, here's the personal view that I just created with my filtered information.
So basically, anything on a given report that you can filter on, and you can go ahead and set up your own filtering, you can create these personal views to then later go back and review.
Review, exactly, exactly.
Very good.
And you can share it from your mobile device with other users as well.
It's a relatively simple feature, but quite useful. So that's good to see that that's
absolutely,
available.
absolutely. And the fact that you can actually look at it offline, it actually empowers you. You don't have to be connected to be able to do that.
All right, very good. All right, let's see if I get lucky at switching back. I've been doing pretty good so far. Look at that. Awesome. All right, so let's see what other new feature we have to show here. Oh, this is interesting. So the rest of the tools on the platform, when you're using a browser, we've grown accustomed to having charts and graphs that have dual y-axis. So I can have, if my two values are different magnitudes, I won't have this crazy little itty-bitty like bars at the bottom of my x-axis. I'll actually be able to see what these are by having an axis for each one of these measures. So it looks like this is something that's now supported on the mobile platform.
Correct. So when you're looking at, let's switch back to the iPad. So when you're looking at an example like this where we have the sales revenue, which are hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, and we have the quantity sold, which are most likely up to 20,000 or so, your scales are totally different, and having that auxiliary axis actually helps you analyze this information better. So now the dual axes are available and supported on the mobile devices. There's no additional setup that's required for this. We just wanted to show you what these charts look like on the mobile device. And here's an example of a bar and kind of a combination chart with a bar and a line. And you can also have a dual axis chart with lines as well. So it helps with the scaling of the graph and makes your data appear easier to read and easier to analyze.
Lucky for eFashion, our sales revenue is a huge number compared to our quantity sold. That's the way we like it.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Very good. All right, cool. Let me switch back. That was probably the easiest demo you've had to do.
Yes.
All right. All right, very good. All right, now we don't physically have a demonstration for this, but we wanted to bring this out so that we don't leave our Bex friends out of the picture. But there have been some improvements also in terms of having these reports go against BW. And one of the things that we have now is hierarchical input controls. So anyone that uses BW knows that it's relatively cube-based, and doing cube navigation requires looking at things in a hierarchical fashion. So now the interface allows you to hierarchically select based on the navigation that's provided or defined within the Bex queries and the BW structures. All right, cool. That was the easiest demo you had to do.
Exactly.
All right, cool. So the next thing that we want to show you, and we were pretty excited about this one when we saw that this was available, was GEO Mapping on iOS devices using Web Intelligence documents. So here's a sneak peek as to what we're going to be looking at. But in essence, all it really is taking data points that you're aware of lat-long areas and being able to map it on maps and look at the data that way through the mobile application. So that's pretty neat. And I see here that not only are we looking at this data mapped on maps, data being shown on maps, but we can also intermix and drill into and look at other charts and graphs and things from within here. So that's pretty neat. I think actually seeing this is going to be even more exciting. But how do you get this stuff to work? That's probably the critical question. Now, I got a tutorial on this just the other day, and Natasha and Yash, one of our developers, have been working with it. So tell us what the magic or the secret sauce is to making this work. And I think reminds me of the spark lines that we created in the previous demo.
Yeah, very similar to that, in a sense that you have to create, one of the steps in making it available is creating a formula with a script embedded in it, which is what you can see here. Whoops, I'm sorry. There we go, which is what you can see on the screen here. And you also have to keep a few things in mind here. One of the things is the latitude and longitude has to be, both of these values have to be numeric, and they have to be dimensions. So those of you who are familiar with creating reports, you have to know that dimensions are descriptive in nature. So you have to make sure that your data type is numeric for those two fields, and the qualification is a dimension. And the other thing that you have to keep in mind is, as you can see here, we have two fields, sales revenue and quantity sold, and the different colors reflect the color of the bubble that you will see on the map. So when you're actually looking at the map, the way that you can decipher between quantity sold and sales revenue is by looking at the color of the bubble, in addition to the legend that exists there.
All right, so what you're telling me here is this isn't your typical web intelligence report that you're creating. This is, you're using web intelligence as a vehicle to making these maps work. So I wouldn't necessarily create this and distribute it as a web intelligence report, but there's some secret little things that you have to do in here to make the map show the data correctly.
Yes, yes. So yes, this particular report would not make any sense to anybody who just opens it up, because the city URL field is not actually anything that you can decipher. But this is that secret sauce that you have to apply to your table to make sure that the table is visible as a map. There's another thing that you have to make sure that you do. The name of the table has to include something like this, where the parameters actually dictate in which column the latitude and longitude exist. And you also have to provide, so two of those parameters are actually mandatory parameters.
Got it. Oh, I noticed another interesting thing here in the city URL syntax. I noticed that it looks like there's two expressions and they're separated by a pipe. So is that so that I can associate different charts with?
Right. So when you're looking at sales revenue versus quantity sold, you want to look at them as separate charts. And you have an existing report that you're linking this to that has those two charts created. And so your first expression links you to sales revenue, and the second one links you to the quantity sold.
Is that based on the order of the columns? Then that order is determined as well? All right, so that's very interesting, because as I look at that, it looks like the syntax for OpenDoc.
Yes, it's very similar. You have to provide the document ID and the type and so on, and the name.
All right, so there's some reading we have to do. There's some documentation that we have to go through, and we've actually provided
the links that you provided on the PowerPoint.
All right, very good. So all right, so this is all the guy behind the curtain and the Wizard of Oz stuff. So why don't we switch over and take a look at what this all means? All right. And let me give you full screen, because I think we want the center stage here.
All right, so there's a few reports that we were able to create with GEO Mapping applied to them, and making them available on the iPad. Let me go ahead and open one of them. All right, so here's one of the reports that we were able to create, and this was based on the table that you saw in the screenshot before. So right now, you'll see that there's red bubbles here on the chart for each location that we had. And the red actually corresponds to sales revenue as we had set it up in our table. And the quantity sold is actually defined in, I was going to say green for some reason, but it's yellow, in yellow. And one of the things you can also do here is you can look at the detail level information. So if I wanted to focus on Chicago.
Oh, I noticed that the iPad was smart enough to know that.
Yes, and we'll look at that as well. But we were able to bring up that detailed chart for sales revenue for different years, specifically for Chicago. And the way that we were able to do that is by having that link to the detailed charts in our Webby document. And just like any other chart, you can use the slider here to to focus your attention. Remember we had another chart there for quantity sold. So you can actually navigate between the two charts here. All right. And if I wanted to navigate back to my sales revenue, I can do that here as well. Let's look at New York. And you'll notice that the chart actually appears close to the bubble that you're selecting.
Oh, it actually has a little pointer.
Yes, yes, it has a pointer to make it easier for you to understand where you're located.
I think Houston's doing very well according to this thing here.
Yep.
All right, so this is pretty neat because with a few little webby tricks and publishing these things as mobile reports, I now have the ability to present my end user, my consumer, with these maps with all the data associated with it, and basically very little effort on my part if I already have all of the BI content created.
Correct, and I mean you have to have the coordinates for the cities, but that's basically what you're focusing on. Yes.
So one thing that that's probably a good idea in your database or your data warehouse or wherever you're getting your data from, you may want to create a table with geographical identifiers and lat-long values so that you can just join those in and bring them in so that you have that information, and then it's relatively straightforward from there.
Correct.
All right, cool.
So let's take a look at another example, and actually we may want to look at the Web Intelligence document that supports this as well.
Should I do the Webby document first?
Let's look at this first, and then we'll take a look at the Webby document here. So this particular report was created with not only with the measures in mind, but also the alerts. So we actually created some alerts for figuring out where the good areas are versus where the sales revenue dipped below a certain number. And
let me just real quick. So when you say alerts, because I think now in the new version it's called conditional formatting.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
All right.
It is conditional formatting. I apologize.
It just shows how long we've been working with this tool,
Exactly.
that we know all the old terminology. So the alerts is basically in Web Intelligence in the past is the ability to look at the value and change something about the presentation there. So in the new version of Web Intelligence, these are called conditional formatting. And so we're using conditional formatting to change the color of the bubble that we see within the map itself.
Exactly. So one of the things that we'll do in the Web Intelligence document for that is another one of the parameters to the table name would be the alert, whether or not to enable the alert. So let's.
Were you going to talk about this feature or is that later?
Yes. No. We can talk about that now, actually.
Because I noticed that I'm sitting in Chicago, and therefore the iPad is aware that that I'm hanging out in Chicago. If I jumped on a plane to New York, that would be my current location. So how does that magic work?
So you'll notice that I've navigated outside of the SAP BI mobile application. I went to my iPad application settings, and one of the settings in the SAP BI application is to enable the current location. So that's all you really have to do. You can turn that on, and it locates you by your signal, basically.
So not only the iPad and eFash should know, but NSA also knows where I am.
Absolutely.
All right, that's good. That's good to know. Good information to have.
They care about eFash, you know that.
All right, cool. Should we look at the Webby
Let's look at the Webby document to see what the alerts look like, what the conditional formatting looks like.
Of course, I suspect that, should I log off and?
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is we timed out. Oh, fat fingers. There we go.
All right. So I'll actually look at both of the documents here to give us an understanding.
I must not have Java on this computer.
Yeah, that surprises me. All right.
Surprises me too.
Okay. So you have the report that we showed you kind of as one of the slides, and just kind of to give you more a better idea of what the formula here looks like. The two parameters divided by the double pipes, and the colors. And what we also have to do is make sure that in our table properties, the name of the table is actually spelled out with the formula that we created in our PowerPoint slide.
I think if you click on the table there, you may get the, oh no, I'm sorry, I misled you.
All right, so let's take a look at the document with the conditional formatting here.
Oh, there we go.
So in this particular case, the color of the headers doesn't really make a difference because all of our bubbles in the map are going to be reflective of the conditional formatting here. So in this particular case, that really doesn't matter as long as we have the alerts applied. Okay. All right, so I think that's all that we wanted to talk about for GEO mapping. So let's switch back to the PowerPoint.
All right, very good. All right, so let me flip back here to our presentation, which, there we are. Very good. And I think that pretty much does it for the live software demonstration portion, and except for Java, it actually behaved very well today.
It did.
That's good to know. All right. Very cool. So we're not going to dive too deep into this next section, but we've included it as part of the presentation. It was included in the previous one, so just in case folks missed the first presentation, that they have access to it here as well. But there are things that you must be aware of when you are creating some of this content for the purpose of tossing it on a mobile device. And some of these things, once you read the bullet point, you might say, well, that makes sense, of course. A couple of ones that are very important, for example, reducing the number of zeros in a particular measure. That's an important one right here, because anything that takes up real estate on your already limited real estate on a mobile device is a bad thing. So we can look at measures and divide by some multiple of 10, 100, thousands to remove zeros. We need to make sure we identify it that way. So that's an important thing. We should try to keep names of things short, so that it, once again, the real estate issue. Also consider the things that you're doing. Don't overwhelm the charts and the reports with things. The folks that are consuming this aren't necessarily sitting in an office at a desk. They could potentially be running around sitting at an airport. And you want to make this as simple as possible to consume and to interact with. So these are just design considerations. That would be true of any mobile application that you're developing, whether it's a BI mobile content or not. Some of the other things in terms of web intelligence, many of the various graphical presentation types that are available in web intelligence are supported by the mobile device, so that's good to know. That list has grown quite a bit since its inception, so that's good. So practically anything that you can show graphically is something that can be consumed on the mobile device. And then comes the fun part. So you obviously noticed during the presentation that the way things are potentially laid out in a web intelligence report isn't necessarily how things are laid out in the mobile experience. If you think about the mobile device, you could be holding it in a portrait manner or a landscape manner, and that may impact the way things are presented. So depending on how you design things in web intelligence, determine the behavior of how they show up in the mobile device. This matrix here that we've created, you can see how things are laid out and how they may show up if you're holding the mobile application horizontally, landscape or portrait. So that actually impacts the positioning. And there's card layout, and it's one of the mechanisms for laying this thing out, and there's also page layout. So when you're doing page layout, that also impacts how the things show up, whether you're in portrait mode or landscape mode, and spanning 1 or 2 pages. All right, so we provided here a variety of links of pieces of information that will get you insight as to how all this works. Hopefully, by seeing some of it live, it gives you the inspiration and the idea that something is possible. Now you can further go in and see, well, how the heck do I do this? Obviously, we didn't do trial and error to figure out how those spark blinds worked in the previous presentation and how the GEO mapping stuff worked. That's something that via some documentation you were able to derive. And pay close attention to that, because the syntax of how you do, how you name the table and how you do the URL content in those cells is very important for this to work.
Yeah, a lot of those features are very subtle changes that you have to make to your reports. And to Jose's point, you also have to make sure that those reports are not going to be used by users on their laptops. Those are specific reports that you create for mobile devices. So while you can still consume some of the reports that you created in general on your mobile device, you should have a strategy for creating mobile compatible reports.
And may I add that we will be sending out a copy of this presentation that will include these links in the slides for everyone to join.
I was hoping people were like writing frantically right now as we showed these. Is that a 0 or no? I can never tell.
And the webinar is being recorded, so that will be included in the follow-up as well.
Oh, now that's cheating. All right. Thanks for reminding us, Lori, because I'm wondering if people were panicky about trying to write this stuff down. All right. So I want to thank everyone for attending our presentation today. It was quite fun to put together and quite fun to show. We were very excited about that GEO mapping component. Anytime you see something on the map, it's always exciting, right? That's good. So we want to let you know that our next webinar, hopefully it will be warmer, and it has to be. We're sitting here in the Midwest, and I haven't seen, everything's white or gray or black, depends on the color of the snow around you. So our next presentation is going to be hopefully exciting for you all. It's basically HANA with Web Intelligence, Explorer, and Universes. So we're quite experienced with Web Intelligence and Explorer and Universes on relational data sets, but now we want to see how the game changes when your data is coming from HANA, and whether you use the HANA structures or go via Universe, how that impacts your solutions, and some best practices on when to use which one and see the performance gains. Up front, I will tell you that Explorer on HANA is quite impressive when you look at some of the data sets that you can run through very, very quickly. It's very cool stuff. So that's going to be the next presentation. I don't think we have a date for it yet, but true to form, it'll be a few months from now. And so we'll set that date and send out the invitations as well. All right, I know that we probably have questions sitting out there, and we could attempt to answer some of them, and we'll take a peek real quick. But once again, I wanted to thank you for attending the presentation. And before we let you go, don't forget to check out the blog. Why don't I go and see if there's any questions that I love this stump the presenters type questions, and let's see if we've got any over here. Are you using Design Studio yet? Does somebody, maybe that's a recommendation for one of the presentations. Actually, as an organization, we are using Design Studio. We have one of the first instructors that's certified in teaching the Design Studio class. So that could be a good potential presentation to do. Well, I have to rethink the HANA versus Design Studio now. We may have to, or maybe do two closer together. That might be an idea. So actually, that's the only question that I see out there, unless I'm, you know what? They're hiding here. Let me minimize some more of these. Is there a way to make this bigger? All right, so I'm scrolling. I can see one of these things at a time. Somebody says hello. All right. Here's a question. Hi, what is the best way to view existing Webby reports in mobile BI or iPad? Well, mobile BI, I understand. I believe you mean, do I look at it in a browser or do I look at it using the mobile BI application? Because that's the way I'm interpreting the question. you can always open up a browser and consume some of these things. The really neat thing about mobile BI is it takes that very same content, though, and presents it in an iOS or an Android experience type way so that you can interact with it, so that you can do the, the pinching and the sliding of your finger and so on. So I'm really a proponent of using the mobile BI application, assuming it's an appropriate web intelligence report. Some reports that are very transactional in nature just appear as a table, but charts and graphs and so on, that would be a better way of consuming the report. And you would think that there was a better way of consuming these questions. Can you please share this PDF? We can certainly, we are going to share the presentation so that you will have access to that. A lot of people saying hello. That's good. Hello, everyone, by the way. Thanks for attending. I know we have some repeat customers out there attending our presentations. Is sorting Webby's reports supported? If you mean changing the sorts of the stuff that we're consuming, I believe, you mean like clicking on a column and changing the sorts of the reports? Of the data inside the report. Yes. Yes, that is supported. So somebody asked the question, so is the standard now to maintain 2 copies of the reports, a PC version and a mobile version? I'm not going to say that that's the standard, but you have to be aware that some web intelligence reports, the way they exist today, are completely consumable within BI Mobile. If you want things to behave in a particular way, if you want them to appear in a particular way, you may want to create a Webby report specifically for mobile consumption. So you don't have to create 2 reports per se, but just note that sometimes your web intelligence report that you may have may be too cluttered for mobile consumption, and so you may want to consider a mobile version of it. But if it's a relatively straightforward report with a handful of charts and so on, it may be completely consumable by BI Mobile, simply by adding it to the category. One of the best things that you can do is simply add the report to the BI Mobile category, consume it on the device, and see what the experience is. And that might be a better way of determining whether you should have 2 separate versions of the report. I think I'm good to go here. We should wrap this bad boy up.
All right.
All right, folks. Once again, thanks for attending. Don't forget to check out our blog. Natasha is also a contributor to the blog, and I'm convincing other folks within the organization to contribute as well. It's a fun place to go get some information on some more geeky stuff compared to what we show in our webinars. And please feel free to comment on anything that you read in the blogs. Give us some feedback. Go ahead and challenge us if you'd like. It makes for a much more fun experience. Thanks, everyone. Natasha?
Thank you.
All right. And
yep, I'll be following up with everyone by the end of this week, likely, with the presentation and the PDF. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
goodbye.